Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's media availability. On the call this morning, we'll have head coach of number 3 Georgia Bulldogs, Kirby Smart. Shortly after coach, we'll welcome in offensive lineman Jamari Salyer and defensive lineman Trayvon Walker. Before we get started, again, media can still pick up their credentials and parking passes at the Media Hotel until noon on Friday or at the stadium on game day. A recording of today's video conference will be available on the CFP media portal shortly after we are done. A recording of today's media availability will be available on orangebull.org/pressbox shortly after the press conference concludes. We'll send out links as soon as we're done. Again, if you have a question, please use the raised hand function. I'll recognize you when it's your turn. You can then unmute your line and identify yourself and your affiliation. If you don't have a question anymore, please lower your hand as well. With that said, we will open up for questions. So, Coach, first question here comes from Chris Hummer. Go ahead, Chris.
Hey, Coach. Earlier this year, you said you can't out-coach recruiting. Your defense is more talented on paper than any team in the country. What sort of flexibility does that depth provide your coaching staff?
Well, I think the argument that they're more talented than anybody in the country boils down to how they play. Because talent gets you so far, and effort and toughness are a lot of qualities that we demand here, and both sides of the ball and special teams. So we're certainly excited about the defensive players we got, and we're young at some positions on defense, and we're old at some positions on defense. It seems in my years of coaching, that you have one or the other. I've been through some really experienced teams in the secondary, been through some really experienced front teams. And this team has a lot of experience in the front and probably not as much in the secondary, but each year it's different. But this group's been fun to coach because they come to work every day. They've never really concerned themselves with outcomes and results. They've really just enjoyed working. They like to practice. They like being around each other. So I enjoy being around them. They've made it a joy to coach them. And it's not every year you get to coach a group like this. So we've certainly been excited. I think Dan and the defensive staff have done a tremendous job with those guys.
The next question comes from Chip Towers. Go ahead, Chip.
Coach, good to see you. How much of an issue has COVID safety and protocol been, in your preparations? Is it something that you spend a lot of time logistically dealing with? And then, obviously, has it affected your roster availability from players?
I think it's just across the country as a whole, it's obviously you turn on the national news, it's the lead-in story. You look across the country, the impact it's had on other games, whether that be NBA, NFL, the bowl games that it's impacted, certainly had an impact across the country. Ron Corson and his staff have been unbelievable, just awesome. We've had protocols in place throughout the year, probably not as strict earlier in the year as it was last year with the vaccination and really the low numbers and issues. As Ron saw things starting to spike, we increased our sensitivity to that. He's done a tremendous job of that over really prior to the SEC championship. We increased a lot of things around our building and our awareness of our players and understanding what's going on. He's had 4 different times. He's offered guys opportunities to get booster shots, and some of our guys have, some of them haven't, but they've really adhered to the policies we've asked them to and been able to steer clear for the most part. We had a little bout last couple weeks that we lost some guys and gotten most of those guys back. And really that's the biggest thing is being at full strength when you have to be. And that's where we're aiming towards.
And next question for Seth Emerson. Go ahead, Seth.
Hey, Kirby. 4 years ago when you all were in the CFP, it was coming off a SEC championship win. It was new. There was all this energy, excitement, enthusiasm. This time around, coming off a loss. How is it different? Is it good? Is it bad, you think?
Oh no, it's being a CFP is where you want to be. All the tactical motivation techniques you have for whether it's Texas, Baylor, or Cincinnati in one of the New Year's Six bowls certainly creates a different kind of energy than this. This being in the CFP is, we really, when you pan the room, I think we've got I don't know exactly how many, but 2 or 3 guys that can even remember being in that CFP and know what that was like. And when you look at those guys, they embrace that. They've been hungry for that opportunity. So I think every player, that's what you set out to do. So there's been no downside to that. I mean, the time in between is really the same, right? So the time between games is relatively the same that we would have regardless of what game we were in. The fact that you're in the playoff, it makes the practices so much more energetic, the work ethic so much better. And coming off the loss of the SEC championship, certainly disappointed, but it was also a little bit of an awakening for our guys of where are the brutal truths and how can we work on those. And you grow probably the most you grow in a year after a loss, and things are made a lot more relevant to you when you have those.
And next question's from Mark Schlabach. Go ahead, Mark. You there, Mark?
Mark, you may have went out there. I didn't hear you.
When did you realize Bowers was different than the typical freshman?
Early on. I mean, he came, when we recruited him, I thought he was different than typical freshman. I mean, this is a guy that would put his phone up and go run up a mountain or a hill out in Napa and sprint up the hill and back then down the hill and send video of it. So like he was wired differently. During COVID, we would challenge recruits to send us video of them working out, and he embraced that. Like he worked out every day. He competed every day. He sent video of going to throwing sessions with friends, and you knew right away this guy had some great one-step quickness. I mean, played tailback in high school, could hand him the ball and he could do special things with it. So when you combine good size, speed with great work ethic, you tend to get a good player. But we felt pretty good that he was a special player while we were recruiting him. And then during the spring, he made some flash plays that we knew he was going to be a good player.
Okay, next question from Mike Griffith. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, Kirby, when the quarterbacks come up, you likened it to other positions as far as the competitions. But is it different when it comes to making a substitution at that position just because of the gravity, as you've mentioned, the rhythm? Are coaches maybe more reluctant to make a change there than they would at safety or right guard because of that team rhythm or the styles of the quarterbacks?
I think it's hard to say. I think it's all based on the situation in the game, the things you discussed prior to what's going on in the game, how has practice gone during the week and previous weeks. It's certainly something that we talk about as a staff. But yeah, it's different than other positions when it comes to making that decision for your whole team. And certainly that guy is the face and the leader of the team and gets the most reps. But it's something that the offensive staff and ourselves, we talk about a lot. But I'll be honest with you, I've been really confident in Stetson, now. I'm confident in JT. And I thought Coach Monken did a great job addressing some of that yesterday. And we've got confidence in all our quarterbacks.
Okay, next question from Ralph Russo. Go ahead, Ralph.
Hey, Kirby, you had mentioned your really talented tight end. And I just wanted to ask about, sort of as a defensive guy, dealing with these types of players who have become more prominent in offenses. What are the challenges to defenses when, Michigan's going to be like this too? They use their tight ends a lot. What are maybe the unique challenges to defense of dealing with these type of athletes being used in these types of ways?
Yeah, size, speed, matchups. You got to be careful. You can't put a little guy on a size speed guy. He can get overpowered, overmatched. You've got to have the personnel to match the offensive personnel. I don't care if that's 5 wides or if that's 14 personnel and they've got, a back and 4 tight ends in there. I mean, everybody can control the matchups they want to try to emphasize to what the strength of their team is. And Michigan does a tremendous job of utilizing those tight ends. So they're easier to use in play action. They're good matchups for intermediate routes. They're really good for the play action game off of wheels, off block and release. They do a tremendous job of that. And I think both these teams utilize their tight end skill sets really well.
And next question from Andrea Adelson. Go ahead, Andrea.
Kirby, can you just describe the challenge of facing not only Aiden Hutchinson, but also David Ajabo, and the way those two feed off of each other and have been a nightmare for some other offenses to have to slow down this season?
Yeah, the first thing you have to do is match their intensity. You know, regardless of the talent they have, the strain, the desire, the want to leaks through on the film. You know, and you talk to people that have played them. It's one of the first things they talk about is, man, you know, we didn't take into account how hard they played, how much effort, how much want to, how much desire, and that has to come from within. That doesn't come from a star that was given to you out of high school. That doesn't come from a reputation you got. That comes from like within. What do you have inside you? What stamina do you have in the fourth quarter to pass pro or run block, whatever it requires in the fourth quarter, to outwork the player, outstrain the player in front of you? And those two guys just are tremendous. You can tell they push each other. They go against a really good offensive line every day in practice. Those guys are really big competitors, and they're a huge challenge for our offensive line. You know, our offensive line embraces challenges like this. They want these opportunities. It's what you come to college to go play against is the best in the country, whether that's the best in the country at red run defense or best in the country at rushing the passer. You want to play against the best. You want to be measured against the best, and that's what the playoffs allow you to do.
Next question's for Dennis Dodd. Go ahead, Dennis.
Hey, Kirby. One question is, do you have any COVID issues right now? And then unrelated to that, is there a plan for how much JT plays?
I think the first question, do we have COVID issues right now? We really don't address COVID. I mean, we don't talk about it with our guys, and we don't talk about it publicly. It's kind of been our rule all along that we have. So not a lot to address there in terms of talking about it, because we don't share that information out. And again, in terms of quarterback, you know, Stetson's our starting quarterback. So again, the JT situation will be a matter of, you know, is the situation right? And also, is he healthy enough?
Okay, next question for Mark Weiser. Go ahead, Mark.
Hey, good morning, Kirby. How different is this experience at the Bowl for your players and coaches compared to the Rose Bowl due to COVID-19 concerns? And regarding Daniels, you mentioned how healthy he is. Is there any rustiness as he gets back on the practice field?
I'm not understanding your question, Mark. I really didn't understand the two parts there.
They're separate. I was just trying to cram them in together. I was asking just the experience this time versus the last CFP, just because, you know, limitations, watching out for your guys with COVID is the first part. The other part was just with, you know, Daniels on the practice field. Is there rustiness for him?
Yeah, first part I'll address. Second part really is not a lot to address there, but when it comes to COVID, the players have been able to do the outings. CFP has made it very safe for them to do that. I think probably the worst thing you could do would be have these kids come to a hotel and just be in the hotel for 4 days and not move and not do anything. So they've made it safe for our players to be able to function. And as a matter of fact, being outside probably helps them more than anything else, as long as they're in a safe environment and not around crowds of people they don't know. So for the most part, our guys have done a tremendous job. They've done what we've asked them to do. And to be honest with you, the Orange Bowl staff has made it seamless. I mean, you know, I don't remember a lot about the Rose Bowl, but where we stayed, I don't think we ever left the hotel. We didn't go out and do a lot. And we did, I think, went to an amusement park maybe, and we haven't done that here. But we've had a tremendous time so far, and spent a lot of our time preparing, you know, and locked in and focused. That's the most important thing is, you know, how are we preparing for Michigan, and are our guys building to a point of being ready to play at 7:30?
All right, we'll take two more questions here. Next question's from Jake Rowe. Go ahead, Jake.
Hey, Kirby. Excuse me. I just want to ask you, in terms of Chris Smith, Jamari Salyer, what have you seen from those guys in bowl prep? And I know those two were really battling it there at the end of the regular season, but have they improved? And how ready do you think they are to go to play in this game on Friday?
Yeah, I think both those guys were healthy. They were fighting to get back and weren't able to do much there the weeks, after Georgia Tech, leading up to Georgia Tech, and then going into the SEC championship. There weren't a lot of practice reps for them trying to recover. They've had, a week off before we started back, and then they've had some good practices build up. And then, the benefit they got was a little bit of recovery time there for 2 days from the time we left for Christmas, and then coming back and starting again. So both those guys, they work hard. They're in the training room. They do what you ask. It's very important to them. So they do the rehab necessary to be as healthy as possible. There's really no way in the middle of a season, even with this break, to get 100%. But at the end of the day, these guys are fighters. They're two of our leaders on our team, and they fought back. We've had to be smart with the number of reps we give them.
Okay, last question for Coach comes from Anthony Dasher. Go ahead, Anthony.
Hey, Coach, can't get away about one more quarterback question. I guess the one I get from a lot of people is from folks who don't understand, why the current starter was not the best option to start the season, but is now. Is that something you can kind of shed some light on what you guys were thinking at the time?
Yeah, we play every game independent of the previous, and we do what we have to do to put the best players out there in position to win the game. Every decision we make as coaches is to give our team the best opportunity to win the game. We sit down as a staff and talk about it, and we had those talks throughout the year. And I think Stetson's played at a high level, done a really good job with our offense. He has not played perfect by no means, but he's played well. And it's a decision that we make as coaching staff. And for whatever reason, there's fans that may not agree with it. They may agree with it. Media may not agree with it, may agree with it. Our team understands that we're going to give our team the best opportunity to win. And we feel like Stetson does that. And that's not to knock on JT. That's the part that's so sad about this, is that you guys want to ask us as coaches questions. I want to answer them as honest as possible. But the hardest thing is every time you ask a question, you drive the comparison home. And really at the end of the day, they're both different quarterbacks and they're both good in their own right. And I think we've got 4 quarterbacks capable of winning big here at University of Georgia, and Stetson's our quarterback right now.
All right. Thanks, Coach. We appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you, guys.
All right, next up, we are going to have offensive lineman Jamari Salyer in just a moment. Again, please raise your hand if you have a question, lower your hand if you no longer have a question. Morning, Jamari. How are you doing?
Doing good. How you doing?
Pretty good. All right. First question for you this morning from Chip Towers. Go ahead, Chip.
Hey, Jamari, let me be the first one to ask you the Aiden Hutchinson question, and not just him, but Ajabo too. You face some great outside linebackers in the SEC every week. How do these guys compare? And how do you feel about the matchup? Something you're excited about?
Yes, it's definitely very exciting. Two great, very talented players. They present different matchups. Each of them are very good at different things, but both very talented players. I'm very excited for the matchup. Obviously heard both of their names pretty much for about a month now, so I'm excited to be able to spot the ball and go play. It's exciting. I'm sure they're excited to play me, just as excited as I am to play them. So we got great talent. They've got great talent, and we both played great talent all year. So best on best. We're excited for it.
Okay, next question for Seth Emerson. Go ahead, Seth.
Hey, Jamari, ask a COVID and keeping away from COVID question. I know you were like pretty much everyone else was vaxxed. I'm just curious if you were boosted, and also did the team kind of go back to 2020 rules like early December or something a few weeks ago, or what was that like?
I mean, it's COVID's affecting everybody. COVID's affecting everybody. And my heart, and my prayers goes out to all the families affected to it. You just got to be safe. You know, you got to be safe. Got to make sure you're taking the necessary precautions to protect yourself, protect your loved ones. And that goes well outside this team and to well beyond this country. So. Yeah, it's really been tough, but we've managed it the best we can. We got some of the best athletic trainers in the country. Our staff, they really do a great job just making sure that we're all safe and healthy. So, yeah, it's been tough, but we're managing pretty well.
Next question from Connor Riley. Go ahead, Connor.
Yeah, hey Jamari, hope you're doing well. There's been a lot of talk about you potentially moving to guard, whether that be at the NFL level or even this season, but you've maintained that you're going to play tackle and you've played pretty well there. What has allowed you to sort of develop into an all SEC level offensive tackle?
Just work every day. Obviously it's tough, with not having the same, 6'6" measurables as the next guy, but that it's a mindset thing. If you allow that to hold you back, then it will. If you allow that to slow you down, then it will. But if you go out there and you work hard every day, you take the mindset of, that I can do this and I will do this and nothing's going to stop me from doing it. And it will happen for you no matter what that is in life. So I just kind of took that approach with playing offensive tackle. Just like I'll take that same approach playing guard or center, whatever it is. Everything requires work. Everything requires strain and effort and perfecting your craft. And I go every day trying to attack that goal and be the best that I can be. So, yeah, I think that's kind of helped me out just to propel me where other people would think I would fall.
And next question's from Zach Klein. Go ahead, Zach.
Hey, good morning. Do you guys talk amongst yourself when you see like UCLA just hours before the game pulling out a fifth bowl game due to COVID? Kirby said it was kind of impossible to keep you guys locked in a hotel room for 4 days. But as we get closer to the game, Jamari, do you guys say, all right, we're going to lock in the hotel and just limit the contact from the outside world?
As far as the UCLA thing, I think it was crazy. It's kind of one of those things that happens that kind of puts everybody on notice. Like, okay, you got to be careful because people are losing the opportunity to play. So definitely being careful. But we trust the plan that Coach Smart has in place, that our training staff has in place. Like I said, they do a great job of protecting us. And of course, we have that conversation in-house, just within us players, just telling everybody to be safe, be careful, no matter what you do, where you go. If Coach Smart gives us the freedom to go out and do things, and make sure you have your mask on, make sure you're respecting the social distancing, because we don't need to lose anybody. Like you said, it's really close to the game. And, we got to be careful. Being careful is the most important thing. Being healthy is the most important thing. We need all hands on deck. So, there's definitely some conversation about it, but we trust the plan that we have in place.
Okay, next question for Mike Griffith. Go ahead, Mike.
Hey, Jamari, good to see you out here again. This season, I know you guys are in the playoff, and that's where you want to be, but just kind of reflect back for a second. I mean, you guys lost players to injuries. Players and coaches have been gone because of off-field issues. The loss to Alabama. Has there been more leadership committee meetings than usual? And as being a team leader and a spokesman, which you've been throughout your career, what's been your message to the team as you're on the brink of wrapping it up here with these playoffs?
It's just honestly with me, I tell the guys, man, just live in the moment. Understand the magnitude of this moment. Understand the magnitude of every day, every rep, every practice rep, everything that you do matters. And don't ever take it for granted, because once you start taking it for granted, that's when you start losing. That's when you start losing to your opponent, when you start losing to other teams across the country. And I think that's kind of a message from the leadership group that's kind of helped us remain one of the top teams in the country, is just take everything seriously. Don't take anything for granted, because everything you do is a step forward. It's a step forward. It's a competition, and you can't see the competitors all the time. That's one thing about it is you take a rep against Nolan Smith in practice, you can see Nolan, but like I said, this whole bowl practice, I haven't seen Aiden Hutchinson one time, but I've been taking reps against him every single day. So it's just that competition, that competing against people that you can't see, super important. Having that mindset, it'll keep us one of the top teams, and hopefully help us to finish as a top team in the end. So that's been my message to the team.
And next question is from Ralph Russo. Go ahead, Ralph.
It's a different. Hey, sorry guys, my hand was not up. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Next question here comes from Mark Weiser. Go ahead, Mark.
Hey, Jamari, kind of how do you view going up against Hutchinson and Ojabo? And, I guess Kirby said that you guys kind of embraced the challenge. And do you look at it as a way to make a lot more money if you have a really good day, given that NFL scouts be watching those matchups?
Obviously a lot of scouts gonna watch the matchup. For me, I'm just a competitor. I like to compete. If they say a guy is the best, I want to play against the best. Like that's what you come to college football for. That's what you play in the SEC for. That's what you come to Georgia for. You play against the best every single day. At Georgia, you play against the best every single day in the SEC, or every single Saturday in the SEC, and then eventually you get to a point where you get to the end of the year and you play against another team's best from a different conference. So I'm excited for the competition aspect of it. I know that everybody talks about the money and can make so much money, but I want his best. I know he wants my best. So I'm excited for the matchup because he's a great player, and so is a lot of their defensive players, not just him. So I think we're just excited for the matchup because we got a lot of competitors on our team. We're just competitors. That's who we are, and that's what makes us great. So I am excited for that.
The next question from Dan Matthews. Go ahead, Dan.
Hey, Jamari, I'm sure you probably saw the video of Hutchinson pointing at one of the Ohio State offensive linemen and then bull rushing their guy. What did you think of that? And I mean, if he starts to do that with you guys, how will you react?
I mean, everybody has the way they play the game. I let my play do my talking for me. I'm not much of a talker on the field. I just play. So if he wants to do that, then that's his prerogative. That's how he plays. That's fine with me. It's not going to change the way that I play. I don't let my emotions change the way that I play. There's people that rise to occasion, and I like to sink into my training. And my training is to let my pads do my talking for me. So, everybody plays their own way. I don't knock the way that he plays. Obviously, it worked really well for him in that clip, and it was a great clip against a good player. 75 from Ohio State is a good player. So that's his prerogative. I have mine. I'm going to play the way that I choose to play it, and I feel like I play the game very well as well. So that's his prerogative.
Next question for Jake Rowe. Go ahead, Jake.
Jamari, I just want to ask you just kind of bluntly, how do you feel as opposed to, the end of the regular season at Alabama? I know you battled that foot injury multiple times. How are you feeling right now? And I mean, put a percentage on it if you want.
I feel good. I feel really good, actually. Obviously, we had a lot of time over the break. Just we had about a week off, like right after the SEC championship, just to kind of wrap up finals and stuff. And during that time, we really hit rehab hard outside of studying for finals. So body feels really good. We practices, Coach Smart has really been managing the practices really well, giving us a chance to recover, but also giving us a chance to work really hard as well. So my body feels really good, and I'm really excited for it. I'm excited. It feels nice down here. Weather's nice. Gives you a chance to loosen up the bones a little bit, loosen up the muscles. So it's great. Get a good sweat in. You don't really feel necessarily so stiff going out there every single day in the cool weather. So yeah, I'm excited about it. I feel really good.
All right, two more questions here. Next one's from Anthony Dasher.
I'm sorry, my hand was up by accident. I apologize.
All right, I guess he put his hand down too. So that's all the questions we have, Jamari. Appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you.
Next up, we're going to have defensive lineman Trayvon Walker. Again, if you have a question, just please raise your hand. If you don't have a question anymore, please lower your hand. Good morning, Trayvon. How you doing this morning?
Good. How about you?
Can't complain. All right, we'll get right into it here. So first question for you comes from Connor Riley. Go ahead, Connor.
Yeah. Hey, Trayvon. Hope you're doing well. What makes Jamari Salyer a good offensive lineman?
Jamari Salyer, he's one of those guys that comes in to work every day, and he's going to give it his all. He's just a natural competitor, and then he does everything right out the field. So carrying on to the field, he's just one of those guys that's going to bring it and give it his all every day.
And next question for Mike Griffith. Go ahead, Mike.
Hey, Trayvon, we were listening to Michigan earlier this week, and their coordinator said this game would be a train wreck, indicating the physicality. What's been the most physical game? And I know they're all physical, but is there a game that stands out to you that you've played where somebody's tried to come downhill at Georgia? Because typically teams haven't had much success doing that.
For me, that I can recap, I'll have to say it'll have to be Kentucky. Kentucky tried to get after it early and tried to run the ball with the offensive line and the offensive tackles that they have. So I would say that'll probably have to be the game that I can recap.
All right, next question from Chip Towers. Go ahead, Chip.
Yeah, hey Trayvon, good to see you. It seems like in the lead up to this week, we're hearing a whole lot about Aiden Hutchinson and David Ajabo, but not a whole lot about Trayvon Walker and Jordan Davis and Nolan Smith and that kind of stuff. Is there, when you get ready for a matchup like this, obviously high level, is that motivation, for you guys to just proving that, they're Big Ten, yours SEC, proving that you're just as good, better, what have you?
It can be motivation. And those are two great players, but just for the guys that you named, me, Jordan Davis, and Nolan, we're just natural competitors. And for the most part, the guys that you named, we've all had to go through something in life to where we had to do opposite of what other people said that or thought that we could do. So we just have to go out and prove whatever they're saying wrong and just do our best.
Next question is from Jake Rowe. Go ahead, Jake.
Trayvon, you guys are coming off a loss, and it's the only game this year where you had no sacks. Nolan seemed to kind of hammer home that point when we talked to him, kind of took it on him. What steps have you taken to kind of maybe remedy that for you guys to maybe have more of an effective pass rush going forward?
Me just coming to practice, working on my pass rush and working on different moves every day against some of the best offensive linemen in the country, which is Jamari and our offensive line. But it's just me coming to work at practice and work on my skill set, things that can make me better as a pass rusher to affect the quarterback.
Next question is from Mike Griffith. Go ahead, Mike.
Hey, Trayvon, I got kind of a two-part question for you. The first part is I want to ask you, about Jalen Carter. He's one of the guys that we've never talked to. And the second question is about players doing interviews now. And with NIL and social media, do you think that's something that we'll see change in college football where maybe we'll get to see more players and learn their personalities earlier as players brand themselves? And then again, if you could just tell us about Jalen Carter, because we've never been allowed to talk to him.
With your first part of the question, I do think that the NIL deals will help with getting to know players more. And then also to answer your second question, Jalen Carter, he's a great player. He's a physical guy, very strong, fast. He's not your typical big defensive tackle that can move around like he does. He's just a great kid. He's young and he's learning the game very fast. So within the future, I do think it will help to get to know a lot of the players early on.
And next question is for Seth Emerson. Go ahead, Seth.
Trayvon, I know you weren't with the team 4 years ago when they came into the college football playoff, but that team was coming off a win. It was kind of new. There was a lot of excitement. What's the feeling this time for this team when you're coming off a loss? What's the feeling around the team now?
I can't say it's just fuel to the fire because no one wants to lose, but also that loss taught us a lot and gave us a lot that we could go to practice and work on. So just building up off of that loss, we just have to go in and correct the mistakes that we made in the past and do better moving forward.
And next question for Davis Baker. Go ahead, Davis.
Trayvon, Michigan's only allowed 10 sacks this season, which is the fewest amongst Power 5 schools. What makes them so good in pass protection?
As a whole, they have a good offensive line unit, and just I think those guys they're very physical up front. They try to play they do play physical, and we just have to attack them, do things that they haven't seen before, or just strain more than they strain.
Your next question from Dan Matthews. Go ahead, Dan. You there, Dan?
I don't have my hand. Oh, I did. Okay. Sorry.
Okay. No problem. All right. Next, Zach Klein. Go ahead, Zach.
Hey, Trayvon, can you give us an idea of how many guys are opting out of these optional activities, whether it's the beach, dinner cruises, stuff like that, and just staying home? And how much of this COVID craziness is on your mind?
So far, we haven't had anybody to just not go to any team event. The Orange Bowl committee, they have made it safe for us to do all the activities that we have taking place in. And just the COVID aspect is affecting everybody in the world, and we're just being smart with it, wearing our masks, being around the people that we're always around, and social distancing.
All right, next, Mike Griffith. Mike, you got a question? Oh, let's go, Mike. Go ahead, Mike.
Yep. Thank you. Yeah, I want to follow up on the opt-out question. And I know times and things change, Trayvon, and you're one of these guys that appears to be on the brink of being a multimillionaire yourself. Is pretty much the protocol that if it's a playoff game, you're going to play. But now maybe when it's not a playoff game, like last year, I think we saw a couple Georgia guys that didn't play year before Baker. Is that pretty much the standard now? If you're going to be a high draft pick, that you're going to see it through if it's a playoff game?
I mean, for me, I can't answer for everyone else, but for me, I'm one of those guys that's I want to go out and compete for whatever game that my team goes out and plays. So I can't answer that question for everyone, but for me, I'm just a natural competitor and want to go out there and play, give it my all.
Hey, Seth, a follow-up question? Seth Emerson?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Mike, did you have a follow-up question? Nope. I think that's all the questions we have. So appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Trayvon. Okay, well, that concludes Georgia's media availability. A couple of quick announcements. Tomorrow, we'll have both head coaches, Kirby Smart and Jim Harbaugh, on Zoom starting at 9 a.m. Following that is the AvMed Orange Bowl Coaches Luncheon at Jungle Island in Miami. That event, which is available for B-roll only, starts at noon. Shuttles will depart from the Media Hotel at 11 a.m. The Capital One Orange Bowl trophy will be on display there for photos and video at the conclusion of the luncheon. And lastly, again, a reminder that tomorrow the media party is from 7 to 10 p.m. at Rooftop in downtown Fort Lauderdale. Shuttles will be leaving at 6:40 and 7:15 p.m. from the Media Hotel. There will be return shuttles at 9:30 and 10. Due to safety precautions, we politely ask that the media do not bring guests to the private event. We do look forward to hosting everyone for a light dinner and drinks. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks.